Hey everybody, it's me, Asinellus, and welcome back to Reddit. Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance. And if you haven't ever seen this subreddit, then let me show you what it's like. Would you like Pepsi or an iced tea? Yes. I waited tables for 10 years. When I would first interact with tables, I would usually greet them and follow up with, "What are we drinking today? Pepsi, iced tea, or some variation of that for the dinner shift. Morning was coffee or juice." I had a table one day, a dad, his wife, and their son. I do my greeting, and when I get to dad, he just says, "Yes." I figure he misheard me or thought I was asking something else, so I tried again. "I'm sorry, sir, what can I get you to drink?" Again, he just says, "Yes." "We've got Pepsi, iced tea, coffee, yes." At this point, I realize he's being a jerk. Okay, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. "Sir, I asked you a multiple choice question and you're giving me a yes or no answer. Would you like a Pepsi, an iced tea, or a coffee?" "Yes." At this point, I done. I can see his wife is getting annoyed with him and the son is giggling. I grab their drink, mum's kids, and dad's Pepsi iced tea coffee monstrosity. Thankfully, they all get a kick out of it. Dad later explained to me that they're regulars. He always gets Pepsi and he was 100% positive I had waited on them before. I hadn't, and just wanted to have a little fun. The rest of the meal went well, they tipped well, and whenever I waited on them again, I'd bring Dad a monstrosity followed by his usual Pepsi. So basically, this subreddit is all about following the rules to the T and seeing what happens. So if you want to see some nice stories or hear some nice stories, then subscribe to the channel and we'll get straight into it. Will you train your own replacement and make yourself obsolete? Of course I will. Let me first say I've been a lurker here for quite some time and always enjoy your stories, especially when you stick it to stupid bosses. This happened some time ago, but I think it would fit here. The actors with their names changed obviously. Bob is the boss at the time. Old, can't keep up with technology, but has been with the company for a long time and so got to be my boss. Hans is the hero of this story, friend from school who works in the same company but in management and in a different department. Helped me get this job 4 years prior. Carolyn is a co-worker who's not the smartest tool in the shed, but makes up for it in work ethic. Carl is a normal co-worker who has worked at the company for about 6 years and handles most of the old clients' accounts. He has a family, very busy. And me. Well, me. Guy in his late 20s, a little geeky, likes computers. This was a small company, and our team of 3 was best described as tech support for our clients. But it went a bit further than that. I usually helped with setting up databases and also advised clients from time to time if they were getting benefit from upgrading their plane, etc. As normal with tech support, we got tickets from the clients and would work away at them one by one. I liked the challenging problems and usually tried to work hard on them. And it just so happened that Carolyn liked the more standard problems and enjoyed doing something she really knew over something new every day. Nothing wrong with that. As you might imagine, we made a good team and had this kind of unwritten rules who took which tickets. Win, 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 win. Me, Carolyn, company, and client. Until we got a new boss, Bob. He immediately noticed that I was working far fewer tickets than Carolyn. I tried to explain to him how not every ticket is the same workload, but because he wasn't very tech savvy and didn't understand half the stuff I was doing, he did not understand. Also, around 1 month later, we got a huge new client, and I spent a week on site and setting up all the databases and stuff they needed. This drew down my month average ticket numbers even further. Duh. If Bob would have only half a brain cell, he could have figured out why. Now came something I did not expect from Bob. He said we need more help on the team, and he was approving to hire a 4th member for our team. I was excited, we all were. We had this new huge client and things were not running smoothly, and anyway, our company was expanding fast, so this actually made sense. And he specifically asked me to basically do the recruiting process and work the new guy in. He might have figured out that he did not have a clue what we were doing, I thought, which I was happy to do. That same night, Hans called me, which is weird because Hans is not a caller, he's a texter. He basically said, "You should come over to my house tomorrow, I have some beers that need drinking." So the next day, I get to Hans's house, and we're just talking about normal stuff. We see each other maybe once a month and have a big overlapping friend pool. But this time it was just me and him, drinking beers, no other friends around. After some beers, he mentioned that he had just updated his resume the day before, and that everyone should always have an updated resume on hand. "Do you have an up-to-date resume?" he asked. I felt this was a weird question and had an idea where this was going, so I said no, but should I? Is there something you know about that you want to tell me? Well, I'm just saying that everyone should have a resume ready, but I of course couldn't tell you if Bob thinks about letting you go, but I couldn't tell you if Bob is not thinking about letting you go. I thanked him very much for the beers and left shortly after that. So now I'm getting fired and have the suspicion that Bob has just asked me to hire my own replacement and train him to do my job so he can take it. This is finally where the sweet malicious compliance comes in. I fully comply with hiring a fourth member of the team, and also pick one best suited for what Bob wants: high ticket numbers. So I'm thinking not so smart person with a sloppy attitude that does not care if the customer is happy. After all, customer satisfaction was not important to Bob when he talked about my ticket number. I get right on it. Many people apply, some good ones, but I weed those out very quickly. Resumes with lots of spelling mistakes and little experience in the sector are the ones I invite for an interview. The interview stage is trickier because now Bob and someone from HR are sitting in with me, but I'm still asking most of the questions and giving my opinions on the candidates. But because I weeded out the good ones when Bob makes a decision, he just chooses the best of the worst. In my opinion, not even the best, because one applicant was actually quite good, but I asked him stupid questions that did not even make sense, and when he could not answer them, I made him look really bad. Sorry, John. I advise one candidate he ends up picking because he will work very fast and will get lots of tickets done. At this point, I have another job lined up in 4 months' time, but I wanted to get fired by Bob to get some sweet severance pay. After 2 months of training Mr. New Guy, I've just shown him how to do basic tickets, which he can do quite well and fast, but makes a lot of mistakes with, and have let the hard ones slowly build up. Carl notices, and as he would be the only one after my firing to be able to handle them, I let him in on what I was doing. As chance will have it, he had just got an offer from another company, and since he also didn't like Bob, he already decided that he will take the offer, but said he could sit on it a few weeks and time it with my firing for maximum destruction. Then I tell Bob I'm done working in the New Guy, and a week later, he tells me sadly that he needs to let me go because my number had not gotten better. He actually used it against me that I had not been doing that many tickets while I was training the New Guy. How dumb can you even be, Bob? He also wished me a lot of luck finding a new place to work at with my work ethic. This had been the day I was waiting for, and I just thanked Bob and reminded him of the 4 months worth of severance I was now owed. And also 2 months of vacation I had not taken and carried over and was now entitled to get paid out. As I'm heading out, I tell Carl what had just happened, and he opens his drawer with the signed 2 weeks notice and walks into Bob's office. My girlfriend had vacation time left, and we decided to leave for a 4-week holiday to New Zealand the next week. I proposed to her there. As the saying goes, spend 1/4 of your severance on the engagement ring. I started my new job 1 month after returning from New Zealand and even got a nice pay bump and a good boss. I made sure to thank Hans again, and he kept me in the loop on how my old department went down the drain very quick, and Bob was let go sometime later. When that happened, they actually approached me for taking his job, and I declined. But that would have been the ultimate FU to him. About 5 years later, last year, I started a company together with Hans, doing much of the same thing but in a different city, and so far it's going really well. Hans is a great guy, so good on ya, Hans, as well. This one sounds a touch ominous. The break that went on forever. I worked in a factory with a supervisor, Sup, who liked to throw her weight around. She was also desperately trying to get noticed by the higher-ups, so she did her best to up our numbers each shift. Our team had 75% more production than the other teams, but it came at a price. Sup made us skip breaks or stay longer whenever there was a setback to the production, like a machine broke or we noticed a fault in the product and had to throw a bunch away. We were all disposable workers, so we put up with it for quite some time because we didn't want to get fired, but eventually she started to annoy us. Every time we were on break, she'd make comments like, "Don't forget, it's only 15 minutes long, don't sit too long," or if we were a minute late, she'd yell at us, "Don't slack off, you're not getting paid to sit." Several people on the team needed more time each break. One was pregnant and had to pee every 5 seconds. One was in menopause, and one just had difficulty walking to and from the break room. So you get the picture. People were late every time. Sup would yell every time. Eventually said, "From now on, I'll come get you all each break." And I decided when it starts and when it's over. So every break, she would fetch us, leave for a bit, and come back after 15 minutes to tell us our break's over and go back to work. The malicious compliance. One day, she had to leave to do something during our break. I don't remember what exactly, just that it would take her about an hour to get back. She came to get us, said, "Your break is starting now," and went away to do her thing. After 15 minutes, one of my co-workers made a move to get up and go back to work, but he got stopped by another. Co-worker 2. "We have to wait for Sup to tell us the break is over, remember?" Co-worker 1. "But she'll be gone for an hour. How can she—" Oh. Co-worker 2. "Enjoy the hour-long break, guys." We sat for an hour, and when Sup got back, she was mad. She launched into a tirade about how we screwed up her numbers for production. We're all lazy and incompetent. That's when worker 2 got up. "You said you were the one who decides how long our breaks are, right? When they're over, and when we get back to work. Well, we've spent an hour waiting for you to tell us that it's over. Let's get back to work, guys," and we all walked back to our stations. I swear I could hear Sup burst a blood vessel from frowning so hard. The reason this compliance is malicious. We knew she cared a lot about those numbers, and us sitting around would screw it up. We wanted to teach her a lesson. Don't try to enforce stupid rules. And also, don't be a jerk to your employees, because otherwise, they're not going to work for you well, and, well, your numbers aren't going to stay nice for long. No breaks for my shift? Got it. I work part-time at a pharmacy chain, and recently our store got a new manager. We'll call her NM for short. Well, NM is one of the most power trip bosses I've ever had. She always has to enforce whatever rules she can think of. For example, one of my co-workers had to switch with someone for a family emergency. When they told NM, she reluctantly agreed, but the next schedule she put out, she had an announcement saying once the schedules are posted, no changes or switches, how NM wrote it, were allowed. So for my malicious compliance, we'll start with how my former boss used to provide longer shifts, usually 6-hour shifts, to ensure we get a good length-worthy shift, as well as a 15-minute break without a lunch. Typically, even if we'd only work a 4-hour shift, he'd still give us a break. For full shifts longer than 7 hours, we'd need to get a break as well as a lunch. If we had a 4-hour shift, all the supervisors would still make sure we'd get a small break. I believe for most of us, this made it feel like a much better environment as we got a mental break from customers. Our customer service scores would back that up. Our former boss gets transferred, and slowly but surely, NM starts giving us 4-hour shifts. That way, everyone can work throughout the week. She eventually posted a notice our state law on meals and breaks allowed from now on. One of them said, one shift that is 4 hours or less does not require a break. The other said, any shift that is 4 to 6 hours requires a break of 15 minutes. This policy takes place effective immediately. Everyone was kinda mad because of the new rule, but had no other choice to agree. Her words were, "We need to follow policy and not break the rules." This one shift, it was just me and NM for 4 hours, where after the 4th hour I had to leave, and NM would stay by herself for 30 minutes till the next coverage would come in. We ended up having a huge line right as my last 10 minutes were up on my shift. Her expectation was, I'm assuming, was for me to stay, then clock out. Those 10 minutes were up, and I had just finished a customer, so I say, "I'm out, have a good shift." NM says, "Can you please help me with the line, then leave?" I said, "Sorry, I didn't get a break, and I wouldn't want to break policy by working and not getting one." I proceeded to clock out right as I hit that 4th hour. As I walked out, I could tell she had this look on her face that she knew she lost. I ended up telling my other co-workers, and now they're all clocking out right on the exact time their 4th hour is completed, even if she asks to stay a couple minutes longer. It even went as far as one of us having to take a break after our 4th hour completed, only to leave 15 minutes later. Most importantly, they all followed the law. That's all that matters. No retirement benefits, no resignation notice. This happened in 2016. I'm a chartered accountant / CPA and got breakthrough in one of the largest accountancy firms in the world. I was hired as a manager in 2014 after working as a trainee student for 3.5 years in the same firm. I was required by law to complete the training to get my degree. I was over the moon until I got face-to-face with Mr. Partner. The 2 senior managers who hired me resigned from the firm abruptly, leaving me second in charge to Mr. Partner. Being that this happened only 3 months after me becoming a manager, I had no idea how to cope with Mr. Partner and his work style. The important thing to mention is that I was hired on probation for 6 months, which is a norm. After 6 months, Mr. Partner had to sign a confirmation report because of which my post-employment benefits would start accumulating. This means Mr. Partner would have to contribute 10% of my pay towards my provident fund. Being the money grubber he is, he never signed that confirmation. I went to him to question about this, and he says the agreement says the probation period can be extended if your performance is not satisfactory. He emphasized that I'm not working up to mark, and I need to do more in order to be confirmed as per agreement. According to him, me working more than 60 assignments in a single year, each assignment can run from 2 weeks to 4 months without overtime, coming in on weekends and staying all together in office for 2 to 3 days consecutively was not up to the mark. I lost my mind, but I knew he could bend me over since it's as per agreement. Oh, I also single-handedly managed to increase his revenue by 18% in that year alone from existing assignments by renegotiating contracts and identifying unbilled work. 1 year passed and he didn't confirm me, always citing the same reason. My life was a living hell. My hair went grey from the stress and I gained a lot of weight since all of my time was spent working. Mr. Partner left no stone unturned to prove he is a typical greedy, curt, old and narcissistic bastard who only cares about profits. At the same time, he was pressurized from senior partners to hire a senior manager despite my good performance. My annual increment finalized by HR department on performance was 35% after I helped the firm secure A+ rating in an annual internal audit. Enter Mr. K. He was a snobby little bastard who viewed me as his competitor and immediately started to downtrode me in a very passive-aggressive manner. I won't go into details as this is really getting long. After 3 or so months, I was asked to change cabins and I was cleaning out my drawer where I found my appointment letter. I started to read it and lo and behold, I found gold. There it was, written that after confirmation, emphasis on after, the notice period to serve after handling in your resignation is to be not less than 6 months. Otherwise, amount equal to short number of days of salary will be deducted. Since it was never confirmed, this did not apply to me. I go to my 4 other colleagues who also worked for Mr. Partner, and I discussed this with them. They were all also never confirmed, so technically we were never permanent employees of Mr. Partner. Keeping this in mind, we started searching for new jobs actively. As fate would have it, it took us 1 year to find alternate jobs, and I was the first one to leave. As soon as I got the appointment letter from the other company, I went to Mr. Partner and handed my resignation with 2 weeks of notice. I put in 2 weeks since I wanted to finish all my jobs in hand, which was crucial for me, both ethically and ensuring I stay on good terms with these rich people. Mr. Partner goes on a rant, as I have to give at least 6 month notice. I calmly said, "Sir, you never confirmed our appointment, so the clause does not apply to me." At first, he resisted, then called in the HR partner and went on another rant. I sat there calmly and HR partner listened to him, his face turning red. He knew Mr. Partner had effed up because if he says I'm a permanent employee, he would have to pay all post-retirement benefits retrospectively, which amount to a hefty sum. If he says I'm not a permanent employee, then I'm not bound to serve 3 months' notice. So I served my 2 weeks, finished all my assignments, and on the very last day went to Mr. K, handed over my laptop, cabin keys, and employee card, and exited the building without saying a single word. Within 2 months of leaving, all 3 other colleagues got different jobs, and all of them went out after serving a week's notice, and there was nothing Mr. Partner or Mr. K could do about it. Since I was handling more than 50% of the workload, I started receiving calls from ex-clients about deteriorating quality of work and lack of attention. 2 of my clients left immediately after they got to know about my departure. The incremental benefit I received from switching immediately compensating for no post-employment benefits within 6 months, so it was a win-win situation for me. Plus, mental peace. Those 2 years were hell for me, but the satisfaction of this malicious compliance was only topped by the fact that I also met my wife in that office, and now we're as happy as a human could be. My wife went to work for another partner in the same firm, who's a very thorough gentleman. And just a few weeks ago, she told me that the firm has kicked out Mr. Partner due to ethical issues, and Mr. K has been denied promotion over director level over non-performance, which effectively means his career has ended in that firm. That's all, folks. Guys, have you seen some of the documents accountants read? Don't try to pull anything on an accountant. You know, they'll read that contract top to bottom, and they will mess your life up. Alright guys, that is it for today. I know it was only a few stories, but these were so good. Today I just struck gold in this malicious compliance, but as I've said, if you want me to do some other subreddits, definitely tell me in the comments down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. There are plenty of similar videos coming up. But guys, as always, all I want to do is see you all here next time. Goodbye!